This is practice test number 1, and we are working here on problem number 2. And the problem states that the table below shows 50 MLB tickets, Major League Baseball tickets, with meal costs at different cities. And so in this table we have 50 different ticket and meal costs listed. Letter A asks us to construct a frequency distribution and a percent distribution with upper class boundaries at 129, 139, and so on. And what we need to do here is we need to begin to fill in this table that I've given you. And on the left-hand column we have what is called the class intervals, which are the different costs of the tickets and meal costs. Now, we're told here that the upper class boundary for the first class is going to be 129, and so that's what we have here. All meal and ticket and meal costs between 120 and 129 is the upper class boundary. And then we're told that the second one is 139. So in this row we're going to have all ticket and meal costs that are between 130 and 139, and so on. And so we're going to go, the next row is going to be for ticket and meal costs between 140 to 149, and then 150 to 159, and so on. 160 to 169, 170 to 179. In the second column, we are going to keep track of the tally amounts as we work through the different meal costs in the table. So what we would do is we would begin to work down through this table. We would look at this first one, this first ticket and meal cost here, 123, and we would make a tally mark here of 1 in this class interval, because 123 is between 120 and 129. And then we would go to 145, and we would make a tally mark in this row because 145 falls into this class interval. 167, we would make a tally mark here because it falls into this class interval, and so on. 125, 155, and we would work through all of the data points in this table. And when we got done, this is what our column for the tally marks should look like. In this column, we're simply converting the tally marks into the number. So we have 9 tally marks, and so we have a frequency of 9. 9 of the ticket and meal costs fall between 120 and 129. And we have 11 for the class interval of 130 to 139, and so on. So we fill in this column here for the frequency or the number that fall into each class interval. In this column, we're going to convert the frequencies into the percentages. And you're going to take the number, or the frequency, divide that by the total, which is 50. There's 50 ticket and meal costs, and then multiply that by 100. So 9 divided by 50 times 100, that means that 18% of the meal costs are between 120 and 129. And then we do the same thing for the next class interval. We had 11. 11 divided by 50 times 100, that means 22% fall into the class interval 130 to 139, and so on. So we would work down through this column and convert the frequencies into the percentages, and this is what you should get. And then in the last column to the right, we have what's called the cumulative distribution. This is letter B, construct a cumulative percentage distribution. That's what we're doing in this last column. And the first class interval has 18%, and then we're going to proceed down through this column, and we're going to add the percentages for each of the following class intervals. So we're going to take 22% and add that onto the 18, and that's going to give us 40%. and then we're going to take 28% and add that onto 40, and we're going to have 68%. We're going to take 16%, add it on to 68, and we're going to have 84%, and so on. So we are accumulating the percentages as we work down through this column. And you should end up with 100% at the bottom of the column. And now we're able to answer the questions that were given in this problem. Letter C is asking us what cost interval is most common, and that would be the class interval with the highest frequency. That would be right here, and that's 140 to 149. Letter D asks us what percent of tickets and meal costs are less than $140. And so less than 140 would be these first two rows here, 120 to 129 and 130 to 139. The percent is going to be the 40% right here. 40% of the meal costs are less than $140. And then we're asked what percent of ticket and meal costs are $160 or more. And 160 is right here. And so more than 160 would include this row and the last row, 170 to 179. It would be these two added together, which would be 16% of the meal costs are $160 or more.